All right, so on to the next step. This is going to be a corrosion step. I'm going to enhance the dirty weathered effect by actually adding a spot wash of Parasite Brown. So, like a glaze, I'm going to add water to it, but it's going to be a lot thinner. So this is actually super runny. And I can play with the consistency while I'm painting too, so I have to see what it looks like for me to actually be satisfied or happy. So just applying it here and there, wherever I think rust would accumulate. And that's the beauty of it, doing a wash, is that it's just going to naturally flow where water would accumulate and cause rust. But I don't want to hit the entire thing. I want to use it somewhat sparingly. So that's why I just say a spot wash. I'm not hitting the entire surface. I'm just a dab here. And then, so okay, there's a little bit here. So then I'm going to take a bit more pigment and I'm going to go at it again. And I'm going to increase the amount of pigment in there. Alright, so now I got that. I'm actually going to pull a little bit out here and there. So I'm drying my brush off a little bit. And I'm going to remove a little bit because I don't want it to be too rusty. I want it to help space out. I want the color to be spaced out a little bit. But then I'm going to take a little bit of pure paint, maybe a little bit of water, and I'm going to enhance just where I want it. And you might actually, for this technique, you might actually put in some pure orange. But since I've got this Parasite, I'm just going to add a little bit more. See, there's a piece of metal I completely forgot. Alright, and then I'm going to play with it a little bit. I'm going to pull a little bit off where I don't want it. Maybe add a little bit more where I do want it. Alright. So until you're happy, you can just kind of play around with it. So there's a spot that I forgot, so I'm just going to actually hit it with metal real quick. So the idea is just I'm keeping the ball rolling. You can always go back and touch something up later if you need to. So again, just a dab here, dab there. It's going to kind of spot wash. Just touch it kind of randomly, haphazardly. Slather this rusty color in there and kind of just let the wash do its thing, right? And then if I like the way it looks, I'm gonna leave it. If I want a little more, I can add more. I actually kind of like the way that turned out, but I am gonna enhance the effect here and there. It looks really good if you put it around like little bolts and screws where rust would actually kind of collect. And so see how fast that is, but really cool effect. So I'm happy with that, I think. A little bit here and there. And that's the next step. All right, so I'm actually going to go ahead with a highlight now on the metal. So luckily I didn't start with oily steel, or else what would I have thought of to do next? Who knows? But this is going to be a flat brush, but the important thing is I want to use it more sparingly than the last. So it's another flat brush, and this is just going to be where I want like glints of like scraped or shinier damaged bits are going to pick up a highlight. So it's just a quick flat brush. I also noticed that I forgot a little bit of rust in there, so I'll quickly hit that with a wash real quick. Quick. So again, just keeping the ball rolling. You know, if I did forget something, it's not the end of the world. There you go. So, and then I'll maybe just hit some key areas where I think there might be like a scratch, or maybe hit some of those buckles. Anywhere there's a nice sharp edge that might scrape across something. So now it's got an extra highlight, so that's really cool. Alright, so I don't know if you can see it from here, but I'm really loving the way that the metallics are looking on the armor here. Like the effect that we're going for, I think, is definitely coming along. Super weathered, kind of rusty, crusty orcs. So skin needs a highlight. So let's put some lime green down here. Alright, so let's take a look at the skin. And I'm just going to kind of glance and scan. This is going to be a pretty soft highlight because I've already got 3 levels of highlighting or shading in there. So this is going to be a real soft, let's see if I can pull it off. Just a soft, flat brush. So there's really not a whole lot of pigment on the brush. And I'm just dragging across the raised areas. Right, so his like real knuckle kind of hit. He's got a knuckle head. So really I'm just looking for places that are going to look good. So I look at it closely before I really pick where I want the highlights. So like his hands, he's got like the tendons and stuff. His knuckles. And remember, you can use a step to help clean up a previous step. So I'm going to look for any like metallic slops, and I'm going to see if I can't clean that up with my highlights. Because why not do two things at once? Kill 2 birds with 1 stone, right? And then on the focal point, you want it a little bit brighter. So a quick flick of the brush here and there, and I've got a nice highlight on the face. Make sure I'm not skipping anything. There's not a whole lot of skin going on. But you see how fast this is, right? That's the whole point. But I'm not skimping out. I want there to be some really nice highlighting and shading and stuff. But it's really just choosing the right techniques, knowing what colors to use, and then a little bit of practice. So, see, there's got a nice highlight on his face. And where's the light going to hit his arm, right? So I'm thinking about all that as I'm going. There's a little metallic slop. So just zap it with a swoop of the old flat brush. And again, after a little bit of practice, you'll know just where you want your highlights and what's going to look good and what's not as important. So after you paint, 10 or 11 of these guys, you're just going to be able to crank out your entire orc army. So actually, I'm really liking that, the way it is. Right, so yeah, that's the skin. Pretty quick. All right, so we got this little guy up here, the squig on his little boss pole dealie. So I'm going to do a dark Prussian glaze. I think blue will be a nice contrast, a nice add a little variety of color to the model. So I'm just going to add a little bit of water, do the same deal, make a glaze. It should be somewhat translucent. So I can almost see the table underneath if you give it a nice thin coat. All right, so I'll know once I get this on there if I like the consistency. So, okay. I think I need a little bit more pigment. Or you can actually do several thin layers if you choose, but it's up to you. again, I'm going to do my best, and I'm going to avoid things like the little fangs on him, any areas that can benefit from just being that brown, that reddish brown color, like his little talons or claws. He's got actually some pretty gnarly claws. Again, it's kind of just like staining. I'm not wanting it to pool up or create any, like, you know, strong shadows or slather it on too thick. So I'm just controlling where it sits. I want a nice thin coat. I don't want it to pool up. So that's all I'm doing. Is now he's kind of got this blue and purple kind of shadows, which I like. But I'm going to take a little purple, because why not, right? Give him a little highlight while I'm at it. Alright. It's a stubborn one, but... Alright. So, a nice kind of a flat brush, so I dry off a bit of the paint. I want the brush itself to lay flat, so I'm sort of shaping the bristles on the towel when I brush it. And now I'm just going to kind of, again, a flat brush is just kind of a flick across the raised areas. And I won't need too much, because I've already got some highlighting and shading in there from the glaze. But I just wanted to add a little extra color into the highlight. And I kind of like that. But I might go back with a little bit of blue and just work a little bit of that, like kind of do a little bit of a blend. So I take a little bit of that blue, and I'm going to sort of do some wet blending, just a little bit, because I think it'll help tie the colors together a bit. And see, I didn't know I was going to do that until I did it, right? Eventually, you're just going to know when to bust out your little arsenal of techniques. All right, I like that. So what I'll do next might be do some red. And I'm going to start doing a technique that I call unpainting, that I learned from one of the old art directors here. I don't know if I can do a shout out, but Cameron is the man. So this is going to be a really neat thing. What you're doing is you're doing a weathering effect by not painting, not painting the entire surface, but kind of jabbing the paint where it would still be if this thing was like scraped and battered. Actually, you know what I might do? Is I'm gonna switch to a darker red so I can use a highlight. Yeah, I think that'll be better. But so I'm just gonna work that color out and maybe apply. I'm gonna wipe off some of it just because I think it'll look cool. And then, so unpainting, right? I'm leaving some of it unpainted, and that's gonna give me the effect that it's chipped and worn. So you're getting an effect by actually doing less work. How cool is that, right? So on this thing, I wanna bring some more color into it. So I just pick some of the areas that I think would look good red, and kind of the body or the housing of this. So there's a little slop. So if you're fast, you can take a kind of a damp brush and clean that up real fast. You think that we don't make mistakes, but it's true, we do. All right, so back to what I was doing. All right, so you see it's kind of like haphazardly applied, the red. And I have to decide where exactly I want it. So for here, I'll do part of the jaw, but I'm gonna leave like the teeth and some of the other bits that are on the jaw alone. But orcs, they don't take too much care of their stuff, so any excuse you can to put some extra weathering on there is gonna be awesome. So there's a little icon on his gun. You can just paint that or unpaint it. Maybe his ammo can. We got a drum. an ammo drum on his slugger. Paint that. All right, and then while I'm at it, I can take that color. See, this is why I started with a darker color, so that I can go in and add a bit of a highlight. So a cool trick is to get three-dimensional weathering, and one way you can do that is if you can find a chip on here, a paint chip. I'm actually going to paint a highlight where the light would catch the paint chip, and so now you're getting into some more high intensity kind of painting, but I don't know, any chance you can get a nice effect like that, totally do it. So now I'm painting it like where the light would catch underneath a paint chip, as if the paint was three-dimensional, like the damage I mean. Just to keep things from being too flat, you always want to start off darker and add a highlight, or start off brighter and add a shadow. Either way, things don't look flat in real life, so you got to leave room for your highlights on your paint scheme. So that's pretty quick. Now the armor looks like it's even more damaged and chipped, and if I want, I can start out with I can go back in with a metallic if I want, and I can add another scratch in there, which is going to be a cool effect. Or I can add, like, you know, kind of a pock marks and stuff like that. So yeah, scratch marks look really cool, and it adds another layer of realism, kind of a realistic weathering effect. So I'm happy with that, and I can do another one real quick this time. Definitely start with your darker color, right, and decide where you want it. Just kind of jabbing, stippling the paint in, but leave some of the sharp edges unpainted. Leave some of those scratches and bullet marks or whatever, your pock marks, in the paint as you're going the first time around. That's the whole trick to it. So here's some like cool gouges and scratches in the paint or in the sculpt already. So I'm going to try and dodge those. I'm going to try and make it look like I'm going to enhance the effect that's already on there. Right. All right. So while I was off camera, I just hit a glaze on this little tassel there, I guess. And then we're just going to go right into sort of finishing up the essential details, right? So there's some things that haven't been picked out yet, and I don't want to ignore them. It's just a few pieces where there's bones and skulls, not to mention their teeth and things like that. So notice there's some skulls down here. So a quick flat brush. Again, leaving the red and the brown in there is totally, it's totally worth a little bit of extra highlighting and shading, so leave that alive in there. You don't want to kill your previous steps with too heavy of a hand, right? So I purposely, I'm leaving just a bit here and there of the previous colors, and so you're getting more out of the steps that you've already put in, right? So the bone is picked out there. While I'm at it, this is just a tan yellow, by the way. So his teeth, I doubt that orcs are going to have like perfectly white teeth, right? So I decided to go with more of a yellowy kind of brown color, and just a flat brush across the teeth. He's got like a bone through his ear, right? So now towards the end here, I'm just going to focus on little details, little things that if I didn't pick them out, it would look funky, right? Because you can paint on these forever, but the idea here is getting a nice, quick sort of a look, nice look, but just quickly. So like a nice tabletop standard, right? So I got the bone and the teeth and the nails picked out on him. So I'm going to go back in on this guy. Just a flat brush on this squig's teeth. It's going to help him look kind of sharp. The claws, just a flat brush. His teeth are covered up pretty well by this jaw, the iron jaw or whatever. But I'll just quickly hit his fingernails. He doesn't have a whole lot going on, but while I am at it, I'm going to pick out little things like just the little stitches in there, a quick little flat brush here and there on like bits of cloth, and so really I'm just trying to get as much as I can out of each step while I'm at it. So maybe just a quick little hit here and there, and that's I'm pretty happy with that. Is there anything I can hit here? Yeah, we'll do the same thing. I'm not taking up too much time, but it's going to enhance the entire look of the model, so I think it's worthwhile. Then I will brighten it up where it's important with a pale sand. So it's another bone. This is going to be a highlight for the bone. This guy had the skulls, so just a flat brush. Make sure I don't have too much paint, and I'm shaping the brush as I get the paint ready. So again, I want to leave certain things, previous colors alive, but a highlight here and a highlight there is going to add a lot of depth. And potentially you can brighten things up. I probably would go back in and I'd make the pants a different color than the shirt, but I'm not too worried about it right now, I guess. So I hit his teeth, I hit the bones, maybe his fingernails. Again, I'm not trying to make them too bright, his teeth and fangs, because they're probably not very clean. But so what I'm doing is just a soft flat brush. I'm not killing all the tan yellow in there. I'm just emphasizing a shadow. By adding a highlight, you're actually just creating more contrast. So it's pretty fast. Little flat brush here and there. So for the most part, I'm pretty happy with it. I would do probably something on the pants. But definitely one thing we need to pick out is going to be the eyeballs. And orcs, at least the orcs that I know about, they have bright glowing eyes. So I'll do a quick red dot in the eyes. Oh, and then we'll do gun dots too, which will just take a moment. So right now I just have a detail brush and I'm going in and I'm just going to catch the eye there. If I got a little bit of a slop, I can just clean it up with this lime green. No big deal, right? Nice. All right. So I'll hit his eyes. And just a quick cleanup. Because when it comes to, things like the eyes on the face, you don't want to slop on the focal point. So I think it's definitely worth going back and touching up just little things like that. Because when somebody picks up a model, the first thing they're going to look at is going to be the eyes. So just a finishing touch here and there. I'm just going to take a gun dot, just a black dot. So if you don't drill out your gun barrels, it'll look silly if you don't just put just a quick little gun dot. It's something we do on level 3s. So pretty much even your tabletop standard, you're going to want to hit certain things as kind of essential. And yeah, this looks pretty cool. You could go in with some black and like pick out his trousers or something like that, which would enhance it. But I think that's you see how quick it is. And that's basically it.